Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest problem in your insurance agency and the biggest roadblock to your success is you. That's right, you, and I'm going to explain how to stop being such a problem for your agency and growing it and processes to put in place to get yourself out of the business as far as being required to be there so your agency can run very smoothly and grow exponentially. My name is David Duford. I own Insurance Agency Builders, this YouTube channel. It is dedicated specifically to helping builders like yourself be more profitable faster and to avoid all the pitfalls that yours truly has gone through in building his own agency over the past 10 plus years. I have nothing to sell you. I don't even recruit agencies. I'm just interested in paying it forward to hopefully teach you guys out there how to be successful faster. Okay, so yes, that's right. The problem in your business is you. It's not the leads. It's not the IMO. It's not anything else. It's you. Now, granted, there are other issues like what we just described where you could have problems with those things. But in many cases, the biggest problem in any agency is the owner. And what I mean by that, I'm going to explain through a personal story. So I've had an interesting career in the agency building business. I started in the final expense space in 2013 building, had been an agent for 2 years prior to that, had ups and downs there too. And have focused specifically on final expense for all of those years. At some point started adding in other product lines to just kind of diversify things a little bit. But up until 2022, done very well. Grew very slowly, but progressively better every year, with the last couple of years being very exponential. It's been wonderful. But what I've realized through all this growth process is that you can grow your business up to a point and then you'll reach a certain ceiling if you don't have a systematic approach of handling contracting, onboarding, training, agent support, carrier questions, etc. And what will happen is you'll eventually hit a ceiling where even if you are doing okay or doing well, your time is completely consumed by doing all of the activities it takes to run your business because you're the sole reason it runs. And to various degrees, all agencies have this problem, this idea that the founder or the owner has to be in the mix of every aspect of the business. The biggest advice that I can give you from firsthand experience is you've got to let go of having to control every aspect of your insurance agency. Again, story for personally, I started hiring, my first rep was a recruiter to do interviews, to qualify agents in joining. Then I hired 3 trainers to handle my final expense telesales and face-to-face people, and then hired an admin to help speed up the process in getting contracting and answering questions. And what that allowed me to do was free up so much time that I was spending training and all these valuable things that I did a pretty good job on, but to hand it over to people, which I was at best hoping for something that was like 80 to 90% the same. But what I've realized is that even though it's not exactly how I would do it, the outcomes have been better because now these people put into these places are completely dedicated to the task of growing my business for what they're being paid. And now I remove myself from the day-to-day processes of running the business and can now process and be creative and thinking of different ways to grow my business, to scale, to add in more recruiting opportunities, and to grow even higher. And sure, there is that short-term pain in the beginning of having to pay somebody to manage these processes, but guys, if you get into the thick of it and you're mired down into day-to-day busy work that truly somebody else can do, and most of what you think only you can do, you can outsource and get good enough, if not better, outcomes. If you don't do that process, you're shortchanging your success. And now looking back, I've realized that my desire of wanting basically a solopreneur type of job where I don't have an employee but I make good money, even though I accomplish it, I've pigeonholed myself or kind of hamstrung myself that now I'm starting to finally unwind and capable now of growing even more, making even more money, and really enjoying the process, which has been the nice thing about that. So all this thing here, why do we control? Why are you controlling of your processes? And I'll go through these because these are what I experienced and I think it's useful to relate. Control issues, right? To me, it's my business. I got to control the outcome of everything and be involved in it. And you likely starting your own agency have the same thing. The sooner you realize that you got to let that control go and put into place people you trust and that they're creative enough to figure out their own solutions to problems without your constant attention, the sooner your life is going to be a lot easier, okay? So that's what we do now. I give a lot of leeway over to my trainers even to modulate, perform, and enhance the training apparatus. I give some leeway to our trainers and testing out different lead systems, and now one of which looks very promising, that's going to drive down our lead costs, be a very unique offering to our agency. And I probably would not have done it if I didn't have this key person in place to take over and think through this process, but simultaneously removing myself from the control of it. So, and it's a cool thing, guys, to run an agency, to not necessarily have to work 80 hours a week, and the thing runs without you, but there's kind of this ego thing that happens too. It's like, well, it works without me? You mean I can take a vacation and they don't need me? Yeah. And that's actually a good thing. It's difficult to deal with, I think, to start with, but it's actually what you want. You don't want an agency or any business that can only function if you're there. I remember reading years ago Dan Kennedy's No BS Guide to People, Profit, and Management. I think is a very good book, by the way. He said something to the extent of, if you can't leave your business for 2 weeks because it'll fall apart, you don't have a business. You have a job. And what good is that business when you want to go sell it? Much less if something happens in your life where you have to step back and not work as much. That's a problem. And it's just a landmine waiting to explode. So you got to work yourself out of it, if only to create a business that doesn't need you as a part of it. And the last point here, I was looking at my notes, I was confused what I wrote. Again, you got to change your kind of approach as the entrepreneur and business approach. Again, we want to be involved in our babies. It's very personal for us. This business, for me, represents everything I've culminated and worked through my entire life. And just to turn that thing over is scary. And then also, a lot of us who are very successful and like yourself working on or already there probably loves the process, loves to be in it, loves to do it. But that in of itself is kind of a weakness, because if you don't recognize that you're being involved in every aspect is slowing the whole thing down, you're actually hamstringing your business. You're not allowing it to grow to the extent that it can, because there's no multi-million-dollar, very successful agency that doesn't have a systematic approach with people in key places to run the thing, where the founder or the owner is really only reserved for the most critical revenue-enhancing decisions. And that means that guy who maybe once was like what I was, a solopreneur, has to let all this stuff go and build it out and put people in appropriately. So a couple of things of how do you fix this? How do you overcome that? Again, the ultimate goal is a business that runs autonomously of your input. I'm about to take a month-long vacation here to Canada. I could shut everything off, give people some general instructions on what to do in certain situations, and I'm confident that I could walk away completely and be okay. In fact, there will be weeks or days, I should say, where I won't even check email or my phone, because my team is systematically set up to handle 99% of the problems that occur day to day, and then allow me to be involved, the 1% where I must have to be involved. So I get to walk away and not even be involved in the business. And the business will grow without me. That's what's so cool. We want to be in that position, because that is truly a business. So how do you get there? Number one, you got to get comfortable with delegation. Again, as you build your agency, it might just be you, and you might have some VAs, but you're going to get to the point where you feel you're really busy and things are going really well. That is the point to bring on some person to start taking over some key task that you do. How do you know what to delegate? So what you should delegate as a business owner, as an agency owner, are those tasks that are lower in value per hour, okay? And reserve what is most highest in value per hour for what you do. Looking at my agency, for example, I started by outsourcing the initial interviews with new agents. I could have somebody from my agency who's worked with me, who understands how I think, to conduct those in exchange for giving that person a running salary. So I was able to free up my time to go back to the business building things that much more. The next layer of that was, hey, I'm a great trainer. That's what I'm known for. But the truth is, I've got people who have gone through my system who are very good at it, that I can put in key positions to train agents. And now I can relieve that whole burden. And so when I did that, I freed up a ton of time that I was otherwise spending on activities that, frankly, these other people could do better. In fact, I've said many a times now, the training outcomes for our agents at the Ford Insurance Group are much better than it was before, when it was just me doing it, because these people are paid to spend time and take care of their people as a part of their compensation package. So you got to look at those tasks of which you can delegate. And then I started getting rid of some admin stuff, or hiring people to take care of certain things that I otherwise did, and retain the things that make the most money for you, which would be thinking about how to create marketing campaigns to attract agents, negotiating contract rates on your carrier commission levels, recruiting top tier agencies or agents that write a lot of business. Those are the things that are really what you should spend your time pursuing, because the return on that investment outstrips, checking emails or physically responding to 80% of the emails that you get. And then also goes along with delegation. If there's one thing you can do to start with, get a VA to maybe handle some of your content production. Get some VAs on Upwork to handle maybe some outbound calls, some follow-ups. There are things you can do and people to hire that can put you in that position where you can get the reps, getting used to outsourcing and delegating and managing people, because it is a different skill set. You've got to manage it. You got to create it, because if you avoid it like I did, it's going to slow down your rate of business growth tremendously. And remember this is really important. And I think this applies to pretty much everything in our business. And the more we think about this, the better, is the 80-20 principle. The Pareto principle. Probably about 80% of your income earning efforts in your agency building come from 20% of what it is that you do. So again, 80% of revenue, 20% of your activity. That means 80% of your activity produces 20% of your revenue. Now you could probably take 80% of that and delegate that out to somebody, and then now only focus on that 20%, and maybe you get 2 or 3 times more out of that, increasing your revenue that much more. The point is not everything you do as an owner is equally important. There's tasks that are important, everything's important, but some things are more important than others, right? And what your job is to identify that, and then outsource, delegate the rest, so that you can keep working on that key component of your business model that's going to scale your income the highest, the quickest, and in a way that the other ways can't necessarily. So that is how you do it. How you fix you is just get out of your own way. Realize that the key to growth is by finding good people to entrust and put in positions that matter, so that you can focus on the higher level decision making that propels you to the highest levels of income. Hope you enjoyed this training. InsuranceAgencyBuilders.com, by the way. Go there to get some free agency building stuff. I haven't quite created it yet, but I wanted to throw it here on these videos so you know where it is. Check it out. It's linked below. And thanks for watching. See you.